Welcome back to our top 5 couch co-op game series. I'm most excited, I think, for this one thus far. We haven't spent a lot of time as a channel with the SEGA Saturn.
Yes, the SEGA Saturn, a console that I didn't even know existed, never played growing up, and is new to me, and probably new to me within the last year. Like, playing games, learning games, we finally got one, clicking for it, got a modded one. So that's freaking awesome, but there's so many amazing games that I missed out on that we're starting to dive in and play couch co-op, and I'm just like, these are fantastic.
Yeah, and to me it seems like there's such a diverse library that was never released in North America.
Yes.
So there are going to be some Japanese exclusive games in here, which we don't cover a lot of that stuff on the channel either. I did experience the Saturn right around when it came out. I had a neighbor friend that had it, but it was like, he also had the Sega channel for his Genesis, and it seemed like within no time he had a PS1. And we were like, what do we play? We ended up playing the PS1 the most.
It's new, yeah.
So it's been really fun diving into this, and I think this list is a freaking ripper. So let's just jump right in to number 5.
Alright, number 5 is a Fox game, and that's Die Hard, the arcade game, which is way different than the Die Hard trilogy on PS1 and also Sega Saturn. This is a beat-em-up, and if you played Dynamite Cop on the Dreamcast,
that's the sequel to
this. This is the prequel to it.
Yeah.
So it's just like Dynamite Cop. I do think I like Dynamite Cop better.
Yeah.
Because it's more refined and smooth. But this is the same type of over-the-top beat-em-up ridiculousness. I will say the loading times and the cutscenes are very long. But other than that, it's a fun game.
Yeah, it's a very campy. You don't get your clothes beaten off of you in this one like you do Dynamite Cop.
Yeah, that's what I missed.
You can pick up just the weapons and stuff you can pick up and hit people with.
Rocket launchers inside.
Yeah,
like, this is like
point blank range.
It's just so stupid.
Yeah,
and I love stupid things. It's just so fun. I thought honestly that this was going to be like the PS1, light gun thing, and that game's a little weird, but it's way different. But it has the same name.
Yeah, no,
so that's weird.
Dynamite Cop, I think, is called like Die Hard the Arcade Game 2 or something in Japan, but it's Dynamite Cop in North America. But anyway, those games belong together. It's the prequel and the sequel situation, and this game belongs on our list at number 5. Moving right along with number 4, Elevator Action returns, a Japanese-only release. You may remember Elevator Action on the NES,
yes,
but it returns on the Sega Saturn.
This game is fantastic. It sucks that it's Japanese-only release, physical for the Saturn. I think there's other ways to play it, and obviously you can mod it and download it, get ROMs for it. But this game is fantastic. If you played Elevator Action, you'll know what this is, but it's more refined. It looks better.
It does.
It's co-op, and it's a really unique shooter, platformer game, puzzle game. You gotta get down and figure out what door to go through, and then it's fun. It's fun, especially 2-player.
And it gets really fun the further you get because it gets more complex. Waiting for certain elevators, things like that. Early on, I think the game does a good job of teaching you what you need to do.
Yeah, it's kind of simple early on. You're like, okay, let me figure it out, and then...
But it is a joy to play 2-player. I've always thought this game looks fantastic. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. It's a game that I had to get when I got my Sega Saturn.
Yeah, it is fantastic. It does suck that it's Japanese only, but you don't need to read it to know how to play it.
And if you have a Sega Saturn that's a North American version, you just get one of those action replay cards and you can play Japanese games.
Yeah, it unlocks it.
Most of the time, they're so much cheaper than the North American counterparts. Anyway, this one there isn't a North American counterpart. Anyways,
yeah.
But an action replay card is a must-own if you're playing the games physically on an original Sega Saturn. Number 3. Wow, that's weird. Number 3. Ooh. 3 dirty dicks. Dwarves.
3 dirty dwarves.
Yes.
This is a beat 'em up game that at first glance you're gonna think is single player, that you can switch between the 3. If you go into options, you can make it a 2-player game, and this is a lot of people don't know that. I don't think it's weird because there's 3 different characters, and it's one hit and you're down. but you get unlimited revives.
Yes.
So in order to get your guy back, the other teammate back up, you have to go up and punch him.
Yeah,
so it takes a little bit to figure out.
Yeah.
But
so to keep your teammate from dying,
you gotta punch him.
You gotta punch him.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
There's the 3 dwarves in this game that you can play as have way different play styles. I love playing as the baseball guy. He's like a baseball bat, and then like long range, he'll hit balls at people. You like playing with the guy with a gun.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy with like a bowling ball.
Yeah.
Like it's like what the heck? And then you can switch between. It's really cool. The art style is really sweet. There are some cheap deaths and stuff. If you don't know what's coming, you'll be like, oh, that was not fair.
Yeah.
That sucks. But it is really cool.
There is a cool mechanic in this game too that I don't know that I've played a beat 'em up that has the kind of 2-layered system. So
Yes.
there's like an underground sewer as well, and sometimes you have to go down in that, and you got to figure out like where do I need to come up at.
Yes, and sometimes you gotta go. It's kind of a little bit puzzly because sometimes you gotta drop down there to like shut off, especially in the first level, shut off electricity in the top area and then go back up and
Yeah,
get through.
yeah.
It's cool, and then like there are different perspective levels, which is kind of cool. Like I think it's like the first boss, level 2, I think, where like he's kind of in front of you and you're going that way.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. It's a really fun game, unique game.
Gorgeous game
Yeah,
too. I mean, it's
really cool.
The art style they did is timeless. I think this era really could have benefited from doing more side-scrolling stuff because it looks so good. And I'm talking about the PS1 and the N64 as well. But they do the side-scrolling stuff. I mean, the fighting games even. You know, the Capcom fighting games, which there are no fighting games on our list. But they look so damn good.
Yeah.
But you get into those the polygon first swag at 3D. It's kind of like
it's a little weird. This game is ridiculous because it makes sound effects and the music's weird. This is just gonna feel like the 90s.
Yep.
And I love that because I love the 90s.
Yeah, there's another beat 'em up game that I think people will be surprised it isn't on the list. The Guardian Heroes. In my opinion, this is way better than that game.
This game is fantastic.
For what I like in a beat 'em up, there's too much of the tiering or whatever with Guardian Heroes
like
that I don't
leveling
like.
up and stuff like
yeah,
that?
it's like there's like 4 or 5 planes and it's really weird to get in between them. It's not fluid. So
okay,
it's
weird. I don't know much about that game.
Anyway, so if you put that in the comment section, that's why it's on our list. But anyway, moving on to number 2.
Number 2, another Japanese-only release for the Saturn physically, but you can play it elsewhere, and I think they just released it on the Switch.
Yeah.
So that is fantastic.
Which is a great thing because this game is great and it's kind of expensive.
It's expensive, and that's Radiant Silvergun, a freaking co-op shooter. This is awesome, a vertical scrolling shooter.
Yeah.
What's really cool about this game in particular is there's different shooting buttons, you know, based on what your buttons are, and then there's button combos. So A and B is a different shot, B and C is a different shot, A, B, and C is a different shot.
Also
it's
use
so
the
cool.
shoulder
And
buttons.
then also the shoulder button is like a sword, so you can swipe away bullets.
Swipe or no swipe.
It's a beautiful freaking shooter, a beautiful shmup. This game is awesome.
Yeah, it is one of the best shooters I've ever played.
Yes.
It's just fantastic. And the fact that you can play it co-op, it's so rewarding to guide through the patterns, and the bullet patterns are so gorgeous. It's this era right here where I feel like beyond this point, bullet hells got just too crazy.
Yeah, they just got like, what the hell?
Yeah, but this is like that era where it was just the perfect apex for shooters. I love this game.
It feels so satisfying when the screen is covered with bullets and you just like wedge through it and you're like, let's go, dude.
And I think it's cool this game's getting some modern love.
Yes.
Like you said, it had a release. I'm guessing you can get it digitally, but I know you can get it physically on the Switch. But Japanese only at the time of its release, and a lot of people, it was that lore, right? Oh, have you played Radiant Silvergun? Well, we have.
Yeah.
And that's why it's number 2 on our list. Per usual, though, before we get to number 1, we have to go through a litany of honorable mentions, and we have a pretty hammer list.
Yeah, so this episode was really hard because, first off, the Saturn's new to us, especially like doing co-op stuff. So every time we were playing a game, we were like, oh, we like this game.
Yeah.
So our honorable mention list is longer than the top 5. But we'll go through them quick.
Yeah.
So the first one we got to mention, House of the Dead.
You were probably sitting there thinking that was number 1, weren't you?
Yeah, you probably did.
yeah.
You probably did think that, but I do like that you can play House of the Dead. Originally, it's an arcade port at home. It doesn't look the greatest.
And it's gimped.
Yeah,
it's gimped on the Saturn.
It's cool that you could do it, but it's not my preferred way to play the first
I
House
don't
of the
know
Dead.
why they couldn't pull that off.
I don't know.
I
Everything
feel
else
like,
looks great in the game.
I feel like the hardware could have done it.
Could've.
I don't know.
Maybe
what
they
the heck
rushed it. It's an honorable mention because I still like the game and I love House of the Dead, but it's when you play it, you're like, this just feels weird.
Then another shooter we have to talk about, Don'T.
Oh.
And it's really cool to play this game because we play one of these games, but it's like the Resurrection
on
the
360, which is a really cool hidden gem of 360.
Yeah.
So it's awesome because I never played I think it's the original, and Don'T is a fan. I love shmups, and it's so cool.
There's tons of great offerings in that category.
Yes.
Another one that's a great shooter is Layer Section.
Oh, dude, this is a very unique shooter too.
Doesn't have different names like all over. It's like Layer Section somewhere, and
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll maybe put something up on the screen like with some info because I know it's called different things, whether it's the arcade or where it was released. But I know the Japanese version is a lot cheaper. A bad game that we actually like is Batman Forever. It's not very good, but the graphics are so cool. This is also on the PS1, which is probably the preferred way to play it, but I like this game.
No, this game, I get shit on. It's kind of repetitive, but I love Batman. And it's just a really over-the-top beat-em-up. But what's really cool is the graphics. The graphics look so cool.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is when you do it two-player, you can obviously you can do Batman and Robin. Or you can do two Batmans. What other Batman game lets you do two Batmans?
Yeah.
That's really cool. Really stupid, but you just pick it's fun. I like it a lot, but it's an honorable mention. And then one that we have to bring up because we just like this, and I do think it's better than the PS1 version, and that's NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
Yeah,
we love our arcade games.
Yeah, I think people would argue that, but my problem with the PS1 version is they put those videos in there, which was cool at the time.
It was cool.
But it bogs the game flow because it has to load that son of a bitch. This doesn't have that. So I think if you were playing, like the Super Nintendo version or whatever, this is the cream of the crop. You don't have that video bullshit slugging you down, but it's really good.
Plays great. It feels great. It is fantastic. And then we got two beat 'em ups as honorable mentions. The first one is they're both Japanese, but the first one is Neketsu Oyaku. This is a really cool kind of Streets of Rage-esque beat 'em up, but not really.
I would say more Final Fight.
More Final Fight, yeah, kind of like that. What's really cool about this game is, in like beat 'em ups you can pick up things. There's little SEGA Saturns you can pick up your butt.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the other beat 'em up is a Capcom beat 'em up, Tenchi Okura 2. Hopefully I said that right. I do not know how to speak Japanese. But this is really cool. This is kind of like a medieval beat 'em up.
Yeah.
And you can ride horses and stuff.
Yeah,
so
horse.
It's a real horse.
Yeah, yeah. I hope you guys know what that is. We'll maybe throw a clip in here just to give you a little taste. But a Capcom beat 'em up, like you said, the weird thing about this game, the music doesn't fit the game in my mind.
Weird.
But the gameplay, if you're into Capcom beat 'em ups from the 90s, I think you would feel right at home. And the unique part about the horse, it makes you so OP. But here's how they balance it out. Like, if you get knocked off of it during a boss fight, some of the bosses will get on the horse and they will just beat the shit out of you. Like, you're in super fucking trouble if that happens.
You're ruined, dude.
But really cool game. And the last one of our honorable mentions was the closest to making this list. Such a unique game. Scud, the disposable assassin. Good old Scud and Drywall.
Dude, this game is badass because it's a run and gun with beat 'em up elements. And then, on top of that, it's a light gun game.
Yeah, so
there's different ways to play this game.
Depending on what controller you're using. So if you play the game and have your regular controllers plugged in, it's going to be a run and gun game. If you have your light guns plugged in, it's going to be a light gun game. A lot of versatility, and both in their own right. The run and gun version and the light gun version are really freaking cool.
Yeah, it's freaking badass, and it's fairly cheap for being a Saturn game, and it's a US only release, so that's even better.
Yeah.
This game, I want to spend more time with it because this could honestly crack the top 5.
Yeah, and the music is fire.
Oh, dude.
Highly recommended, just on the outside of making the top 5.
But now let's move on to number 1.
Yep.
Our top co-op game on the Sega Saturn, and it's a light gun game, and it's Virtua Cop 2.
If you watched our Dreamcast co-op game, you know it's on the Sega Smash Pack for the Sega Dreamcast.
Yes.
Virtua Cop 1 is good. Virtua Cop 2 is great.
Yes.
And for me, it was all about the pacing of the game. The bad guys show up so rapidly in Virtua Cop 2, where the first one's kind of more of a methodical. They're both good.
They're both great, and they both look the same, similar. Mm-hmm. But I love 2 because it's more action-y.
Yeah.
It's like more fast-paced. Like, it throws you right in, and the bad guys, and then there's like civilians, and you're like, oh, fuck. And it plays so freaking well on the Sega Saturn with a CRT TV. I didn't even calibrate the guns. We just started playing it, and I was like, this is perfect.
It was dialed.
It was awesome.
The pacing of it, it's nothing like this, but the pacing of the frequency of the bad guys in 2 reminds me of Lethal Enforcers.
Okay, yes.
That it's just, they just pop and...
They just keep coming.
Yes,
yeah.
And the first one's more like you kind of going, and then, there's 1, 2, 3...
No, this one, it's like,
yes.
There are people behind people. It is so satisfying. And I do like the Virtua Cop games where there's like the little signal, and if you shoot it at the perfect thing, you get more points.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. It is a fantastic freaking co-op game. We love our like-on games, and it's wild that this is number 1 and House of the Dead was just an honorable mention. But on the Sega Saturn, this game is phenomenal.
Yes.
It's beautiful, and House of the Dead isn't.
If I had to compare Virtua Cop 2 to the arcade version of House of the Dead 1, that would be a different story. But it's not even close as far as the quality that the games run on the system. And Virtua Cop 2 is badass. You can import it on the cheap, but if you have guns and everything, again, it's worth mentioning, you can play it on the Sega Dreamcast. That Smash Pack's pretty cheap. And a lot of people don't know about that. We actually had a few comments where people like, I had no freaking idea.
It's kind of like a hidden nut.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because a lot of those games on that Sega Smash Pack are like retro.
And then
there was that.
And then there was Virtual Cop 2, and it was just like, that's weird, but really freaking cool.
Yeah. What do you think of our list? What is your top 5 Sega Saturn games? We would love to know in the comments section below. It was a really fun list for us to make.
Hard list to make.
But before we go, cue it up.
Beer reviews are back, baby.
Boom.
I'm going to say that all year. We're going to be doing it for you. Beer reviews are back. Today we're drinking the 2024 variant of the Founders KBS.
Yeah.
So they released KBS every year.
Yep.
And I've had it every year since they've released it. I think we've reviewed every variant every year. This is just an Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels. This bad boy comes in at 12%. What do you think?
I would say do not give this to Grandma before you put her to bed. 12%. It's a heavy hitter, but
how often are you giving Grandma beer before she goes to bed?
I don't know. I mean, that's why they never let me watch Grandma. But anyways, this is just a class act, a top shelf beer. It knows what it is.
Yep.
It's a straightforward. To me, it's a benchmark barrel aged stout that doesn't have a lot of frills and shenanigans.
Yeah, that's what I like about it.
This is what this style of beer is. And they nail it every year.
Founders is one of my favorite breweries. They put out amazing beer. They put out heavy freaking hitters. And what's wild is this is 12%, but like you said, it's not like super aggressive. It's not super punch in your face. It's smooth. It's delicious. You get a little bit of that chocolatey taste. It's a dangerous beer. It's a nice sipper beer. It is so freaking good. I don't know how it compares to last year's because I don't remember because we drink a lot of beer. And also, that was a year ago. But this beer is fantastic, and it's just... I love a good stout, a good straightforward stout.
Yeah.
It
is hard to beat. We've been through the gamut of all sorts of stouts, and I'm not saying this is the best one we've ever had, but it's very, very consistent. You know what you're getting. And I think that a lot of barrel-aged stouts kind of from, newer breweries, etc., they know this beer is kind of a benchmark. Like we need to kind of be in that league.
We need to get the Founders.
Yeah,
Founders is like the staple.
They're dialed in.
But you know what else is dialed in? The Sega freaking Saturn.
Yeah,
I missed out on this console, and it sucks because I love it so much. Like every time we were getting screen cap for these games, I was like, let's just keep playing. Like, Like I wanted to keep playing all of these games. Like they're so good.
Well, I'm excited. We get this out, and we've got a Saturn on both sides of the room. Maybe some streaming. Which we've never streamed the Saturn before. Actually, we streamed House of the Dead 1. One time.
One time. That's before the remake came out.
Yep. But other than that, I mean, it's definitely it's like having a new console. It's so fun. I'm really enjoying it. I've had one for a while, but we just haven't done a deep dive. I played a few games here and there, but now is the time. It is the Sega Saturn time.
Yeah, and make sure you let us know what games we should look into or pick up for the Sega Saturn because it's new to us.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. We'd really actually appreciate that a lot. Guide us. Lead the horses to water.
That's the sound of horse.
Those are the hooves.
Yeah, those
are the hooves.
Yeah, they are. We appreciate you tuning in and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you guys can run along and go play some Sega Saturn. We'll see you next time right here on the one and only Gaming Off the Grid.